If you want better on and off-road performance out of your 2015 and newer F-150 along with a nice level ride height, well then you'll want to check out the Ford Performance by Fox 2.0 suspension kit that we have here today. Now this kit will feature the 2.0 coilovers up front along with the 2 shocks here for the rear, and when installed will make enough room for a set of 33-inch tall tires along with that nice leveled stance. A lot to talk about here in this video, guys, so let's get into it. Let's start off with the front setup here, guys. There is a good amount to cover in that regard. This is a true 2.0 front coilover setup, which is preset for 2 inches of front end lift right out of the box, which, by the way, according to the gang at Ford Performance, will make enough room for a set of 33-inch tall tires along with that perfectly leveled stance. Now these are adjustable, as you can see here by the locking rings down below. However, I should point out that Ford Performance does state that adjusting these things in any way in regards to height or preload might void your warranty. So I would avoid doing that without consulting Ford Performance first. Now the front coilovers do incorporate a unique racing coil spring actually provided by Eibach. It is stamped right on the spring itself, and the spring and its rate is going to match the unique valving that will help deliver a nice balance of both on and off-road performance and comfort. Now that front end lift again is more than just a leveled stance, guys. It's also going to allow for those bigger tires, which we've already said, but it's also going to improve some pretty valuable areas of your off-road performance. For instance, it's going to improve and increase things like your approach angle by up to 5 degrees, along with your breakover angle by about 2 degrees. So again, meaningful improvements here over a bone stock setup. But let's move towards the rear setup here, guys, and you'll see that the Ford Performance by Fox setup has included 2 smooth body nitrogen-filled 2.0 shocks. Now, smooth body in this case just simply means that there's no external piggyback reservoirs or anything like that. Now, instead, these shocks are going to incorporate a monotube construction with an internal floating piston design and valving, by the way, that is set up to match the front coilovers here. Now, both the front and rear options have been constructed from really nice 6061 T6 aluminum, given a hard anodized finish to prevent any corrosion, and are assembled here in the USA. Now, finally, guys, if you do run into any issues right out of the box, they do have your back with a 90-day limited warranty, just in case you run into any issues. Price point for the kit here, guys, will live between the $1,600 to $1,700 range, which is going to round out the higher end of the price spectrum for a non-reservoired setup. Now, if you're interested in sticking with a 2.0 here, Eibach's kit will come in about $500 less at the end of the day, but I don't think anyone is going to doubt the capabilities and the engineering of the Fox and Ford Performance components. Now, if you did want to step up into a reservoired setup of coilovers, maybe along with something that's going to be a little bit more beefed up for more heavy off-road use, Fox does offer their Race Series 2.5-inch coilover that will run you just north of $2,000 here on the site, but keep in mind that does not include any rear shocks. You would have to purchase those separately. So you certainly have some options depending on your usage, of course. If you're spending most of your time on road with some light trips off-road, it's really hard to piece together kits such as this with all of the engineering that's gone into it from the likes of Ford Performance and Fox, and something that is ready to bolt up right out of the box. Hey, speaking of getting everything bolted up, let's switch gears and get into our install segment, guys. And again, as I just pointed out, one of the nice things about going with a kit like this is that everything is pre-assembled for you, meaning you're just simply going to remove your factory dampers first, swap in the new Ford Performance by Fox stuff, and you're good to go. Obviously, still a good amount of work to make this all possible, so therefore figure a strong 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, at least 4 hours to complete from start to finish, depending on how fast you like to work. But now we're gonna throw it out to our guys in the shop here, so let's check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include a couple different size impact guns, a hammer, 18 and 27 millimeter wrenches, 15 and 17 millimeter ratcheting wrenches, a marker, a couple different size swivel adapters, 15 and 19 millimeter swivel sockets, and 18 and 21 millimeter sockets, and a pry bar. What's up, guys? Today we're installing a lift kit on our F-150, so let's get started. So on the front, we need to remove our front struts. So the first thing we're gonna do is grab a 21mm socket to disconnect our sway bar end link. So we'll grab our 21mm socket to remove the nut for our sway bar end link. And then we can pull our end link out of the knuckle. Next, we can grab a 21mm socket to remove the nut on our tie rod end. And then we can take a hammer and smack the side of the knuckle here to break this free. Next, we can come underneath our lower control arm and remove the two nuts that are holding our lower strut bolts into place. So we'll grab an 18mm socket to pop these out. Now next, we're gonna drop our lower control arm from our two pivot points. To be able to get this as close to our alignment as possible, I'm gonna take a marker and just make a line here so that once we put everything back together, we can line it up. Now you're gonna have to get an alignment after the lift kit anyway, so this will just make it good enough to take it to the alignment shop. So now with our marks made, we can grab a 27mm wrench on our nut side and a 21mm socket on our bolt side and remove our two bolts. And then we can drop our lower control arm from our strut. Next, we can come up to the top of our strut tower and remove the three 15mm nuts that are holding our strut into place. So I've got a 15mm ratcheting wrench to pop these out. And then with that last one loosened, we can lift up on our strut and spin that the rest of the way off by hand. And then slide our strut out of place. And now with our nuts removed, we can pull our strut out. And then do that same thing on the other side. Now for the rear, we need to remove our shock. The bottom's held in by a 15mm bolt and 18mm nut. The top's held in by a 15mm bolt, and there's a nut with a welded tab, so we don't need to get a wrench on that. To pop this out, I've got a 15mm socket and 18mm wrench. So now we'll start at our lower shock mount with that 15mm socket and 18mm wrench. And then we can pull up on our shock to pop our bolt out. And now we can go up top with our 15mm socket to remove our bolt. And then we can remove our shock. So now we can grab our new strut and raise this up into place, and then we're gonna get a washer and nut onto each of our studs. Next, we can install our two lower strut bolts with our washer. So we'll lift up on the lower control arm, get it lined up, and get these threaded into place. So now I've got the lower control arm on a couple of pole jacks. We're going to use these to raise this back up into place, and then we can reinstall our bolts. So now with this raised up into place, we're going to have to push this forward a little bit to get our bolt in. So I'm just going to take a pry bar and pry forward. Get that bolt started. And then slide our nut onto the other side. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side here. And then throw our nut onto that side. So now we can go back and tighten down our two bolts. I'm gonna get our nut lined up here and then get a wrench on it. And then we'll grab the 21mm socket for the bolt side and tighten this down. And then I'll do that same thing on this side. And then we can do that same thing on this side. We'll line up our nut first, and then take our 21mm socket to tighten it down. Next, while we're down here, we can take a 19mm socket to tighten down our two lower strut bolts. Next, we can go back up top and take a 17mm wrench to tighten down our nuts. Next, we can reinstall our tie rod end. And then thread on our nut. And tighten that down with a 21mm socket. Now at this point, you want to repeat that whole process on the other side until you only have your sway bar left. It's easier to do these both at the same time to pop them in so that you don't have one side higher than the other. So once you're finished with that side, we can reinstall our end links. Now we can grab our end link and pop that back through our knuckle, reinstall our nut, and take a 21mm socket to tighten that down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Ford Performance Off-Road 2.0 suspension kit for your 2015 and newer four-wheel drive F-150, excluding the Raptor. Thank you for watching, and for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.